our C19 Biz Booster series webinar, Taking Care of Your Business by Taking Care of Yourself. So how is everybody today? We've got several attendees online, and two of which I'm very familiar with. Hi Chris and hi Gina, good to see you again. Allowed to talk, allowed to talk. And then we've got someone who's called in by telephone. Nice to have you here. Do you want to say your name? You don't have to, but if you want to, you can type it in the chat bar as well. And then we've got signature as well. So sorry, the person dialing in by phone, what was your name? Or you could type in the chat bar as well if you're not confident unmuting yourself.
Hi Claire, how are you?
Great, is this Gina?
Yes, it is.
Hello, nice to see you again, Gina, or at least hear you.
Yes.
Oh, there you are. Okay, that's great. And then we've got Chris. Might put this little one up here, trying to move our boxes around so we can see everyone. So, Chris, how are you? Chris is not coming offline. Okay, so we'll just dive in. I think you can tell by the start of this Taking Care of Your Business by Taking Care of Yourself, we lead a very interactive style webinar. So if you have any questions, please, a little bit of housekeeping, please don't hesitate to use your mouse down the bottom of the screen and go into the chat bar, and we'll be able to pick up your questions from there. And there we go, there's the chat bar. So you go into participants and Q&A. If you go into Q&A and hit the Q&A, you'll be able to have your questions answered, or just take yourself off mute and say, excuse me, Claire, I've got a question, can you answer it? All right. So today we are joined by Jack doing production. So just like to welcome you, Jack. Say hi, Jack.
Hi, guys.
And Jack is here to help me out with making sure that the whole webinar runs smoothly, and if there's any IT issues, and to support you with the questions that you may have. So it works way better if we don't do this via television. I know Gina's quite used to jumping in. Hopefully Chris will be able to join in as well. And let's get started. Taking care of business by taking care of yourself. So it's really, really important when you're a business owner that you understand that you'll get pulled in a lot of different directions. So when you're pulled in a lot of different directions, that means we talk about it as if you're wearing different caps. So you might be, you know, client service, customer service one day, and then the next day you're having to have your accounting hat on and got your head in the figures. And then you need to be talking to suppliers the next day. And then other times you're dealing with staff and other issues there. So, and this can also happen not only one day after the other, but it can also happen in the same day, sometimes even in the same hour. So you're very much consciously interacting with a lot of people, and you have to be very on your game. So as well as be subject matter experts in your own area, field of expertise. So it becomes a bit of a juggling game to try and get all of these things, all these balls in the air, or wearing all these caps at the same time. So that's what today's session is about, to give you some tips and tricks about how to do that. So just in the spirit of being interactive, would someone like to type a question into the chat bar, or not a question, but maybe type in what your business is, or speak into the microphone? And Gina, I'm going to call on you because I know you don't mind jumping straight in there. So Gina, can you tell everyone what is your business and how you take care of yourself?
Okay, my business is By Jove Creations. So I'm a fibre artist who does macrame and weaving, etc. To take care of myself, I guess. It's that that constant thing of trying to balance the work and home life, which is always there. So no matter who you've got at home, you've always got to balance it. So just looking at ways all the time to keep that in check. And I find that you've always got something else pulling you from the priority that you had set at the beginning of the day. So I guess getting some tips on that would be great.
Excellent. We are going to cover off on that today, Gina. So that's good. You're heading in the right direction. And what do you like to do in your spare time, Gina?
Well, for me, this is kind of like a hobby business. So I'm doing what I like to do in the sense of the creation. Obviously, the business is way more than just creating. But outside of that, probably just, doing a little bit of exercise, maybe bike riding with the family, things that are fairly relaxing.
Great, very good. All right, because we will dive into different things that you can do, but bike riding is an awesome, walking, yoga, cooking, and like you said, you do art as that's your pastime, and you've turned it into your business, so you get to combine a couple of things there as well. Okay, that's great. So would anyone else like to put their name in the chat bar and say your name and your business and how you like to take care of yourself? What's some of the things you like to do to relax? Chris or Signature? Anyone want to comment at this stage? Okay, there we go, Jack. We've got someone in the chat bar.
Yep. So the phone caller in, if you could please put your name in so I know who, so I can refer to you by your name. But you said, I'm planning for a personal website, hoping to expand it to include e-commerce.
Okay, so you just repeat that for me, Jack, because I was playing with the knobs.
That's all right.
You're planning.
I'm planning for a personal website, hoping to expand it to include e-commerce.
Okay, great. Very good. Thank you. There we are. And Chris.
He's wanting a business strategy.
Okay. Oh, no, that is business strategy is that's your company, Chris? That's what you do, is business strategy for clients? I think that's Chris's exercise sleep planning.
Yes.
Yeah. That's great. Exercise is great. Sleep is great. Planning is awesome, and timing. All of those things are really valid. And I think I really appreciate Chris and Jenny sharing and the caller. If you could put your name in, I'm planning for a personal website in expanding e-commerce. If you could put your name in, that'd be great. Or even a fictitious name. We can start calling it. So if I don't make up a fictitious name, that's that you don't like. So just put something in that you'd like me to call you, so I'm not referring. The big issue is staying connected, Chris.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Sorry, this is actually Poe, P-O-H.
Oh, Poe, hi, welcome.
Yeah, I'm the one who is planning to start a website and hoping to extend it to include e-commerce.
Okay, very good. And Poe, what do you do to take care of yourself when you're not working?
Well, actually, I have recently retired from full-time work. That was 2 years ago.
Yes.
I've been traveling quite a bit.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm hoping to continue to travel.
Don't we all? So we're okay. We can start to travel around Australia. What state do you live in, Poe?
I'm in Perth.
Oh, you're in Perth. Okay, so you're all good as long as you don't want to go to Victoria. But you can start. Yes.
For the time being, I think the border is closed.
Yes, no, you can't go to Victoria. Oh, Perth actually still has their border closed, or you've opened as well?
July 17th.
July 17th, you've got your borders opening.
I know I've already booked my tickets. I'm in Darwin. I've already booked my tickets. So I'm living into the moment. So very shortly you will be able to travel, Po. And in the meantime, while you're in isolation, working on a website and e-commerce is a great project. So that's great. And welcome, Po. So the signature 4, I'm part of long established business services, very seasonal, trying to stay sane when the phone won't stop. And your name is Pam. Pam, welcome. So you're just trying to stay sane. Do you want to just type in there, hi, how do you stay sane? When you're trying to stay sane, what does that actually involve? Do you like to do yoga in the corner? Or do you go for a walk? What do you like to do? Let's give Pam a minute to respond. And the point being here is that what we've experienced so far is that people taking care of themselves, it means different things to different people. So it might be really interesting for one person to go for a walk or a bike ride, but for another person, reading a book might be more appropriate for them. And I think that's the key message in this today, is that we can't just sit here and tell everybody to do a particular style of taking care of yourself, because it's a very broad range. Personal development and professional development is a very individual thing, and there'll be some suggestions that come out of today, and you're welcome to steal them. So if there's someone that says something that they really like to do and that's good for them, please feel free to steal it. So for Pam, the problem is no time off at all at the moment. You start at 5 and no rest till 7. And you're exhausted because of that. So great. Well, you're in the right place, Pam, because it sounds like you really do need to start to take care of yourself. So thank you for taking time out of your busy day to join us. So the point that I'm making here on this slide is it's about finding something that you like, because if you don't like to do it, it won't stick. It's kind of like putting yourself onto a diet or healthy eating. You've got to find enjoyment in what you're doing, otherwise it won't stick. And that's really, really important. As human beings, we won't stick with anything that we don't like. So it's about getting ideas and then taking the time to stop and think about what is going to be appealing for you. So this is Pam, this is a great way to start. It's like a blank canvas. And so what are the options? So where can I start to take care of myself? And why is it important to take care of myself? Okay, fantastic. Great participation, everyone. Thank you. So we often talk about the cost of materials and the cost of running a business in terms of what's involved with running a business, but we rarely talk about the emotional cost of starting and running a business. So everyone here has either got a business or they're thinking about starting a business. So it's something that you really need to take into consideration. You know, if you have a family, how much time away does it mean from the family? What are the impacts of me starting a business? What are the impacts of me? It's the same as if you took a job in the city and you lived in the country and you had to commute. What's the impact of the travel time to and from work? Because you're not just at work for 7.5 hours a day or 8 hours a day or 9 or 10 hours a day. You've got to get there as well. So if you take that and put that in the context of emotional cost, it definitely is not about whether you should or shouldn't start a business. It's about embarking on understanding the impact of the emotional cost of running a business as well. So just so it's in your spectrum so you can do something about it. So if you've worked a job in and around other people most of your life and now suddenly you're working on your own business on your own, there's a good chance that you haven't taken time out to look at the impact of that on your life. If you're used to working on short projects with quick outcomes, the long wait for success that often comes with a business of your own can elevate your emotional state, affecting all areas of your life. So the outcomes for today, And there's a cost of all that hard work on your relationships. What about the ever-present thought in the back of your mind that you might go broke, which is sometimes, you know, you can imagine with COVID, that's a big concern. Job security is a big concern. So just actually turnover in general is a concern that can affect your emotional state, that can affect your state management. So today you're going to learn about my journey from failure to success. So I'll touch on that a little bit just to give you a bit of a context of where I'm coming from, how your emotional state can affect your business, how to adjust to the new reality of owning a business, and self-care tips for maintaining your health in business. So they're the things that we're going to just touch on today. So I teach a lot of leadership and state management with our clients all around Australia. So we'll jump into the brain science side of state management in a minute, but just so everyone, because it was put in the notes that I'd talk a little bit about my journey. So I had a very successful hotel career that ended up when I was 28, I was in charge of 150 staff. I was living in the Sheraton, New York, and I worked for the Sheraton as a hotel chain, and I'd had a whole career in hotels, working from restaurant manager all the way through, and I was head of operations for their loyalty program. So it was a great job and a great experience, and I learned a majority of the leadership leading teams in that role and in that career. I met my first husband in New York, and when we decided to get married, we moved back to Australia. I transferred in a senior role in the organisation, and when I got married, I got pregnant with twins on my honeymoon, and so that was the end of my hotel career, because you can't live in hotels with little babies. It doesn't work very well. So I was very fortunate to do some work in community service. I became a lifeline crisis counsellor, and I also did a bunch of work around I started my personal and professional development journey, and I went back and studied business. So I was sort of occupying myself with that stuff when the kids were young. When they went back to school in grade 1, it was 2007, and my husband had businesses at the time that were greatly impacted by the GFC, the global financial crisis. And in a way, the timing of that happening put me in a really good position to be able to deal with what's happened with COVID. And I'll talk about that a little bit later on. But the businesses, we didn't see it coming, because they were based in, we were Australian-based business doing business in America, and one thing led to another, and basically we found ourselves bankrupt. He did go bankrupt, basically, and we went from having really successful businesses to losing properties and homes and investment properties and businesses and all staffing, and it literally happened overnight. In reality, it was about 4 months, but it felt like it was overnight. And from that failure, it was really important to me to understand what went wrong, and that's how Treaty was born, because we went back and really closely looked at what happened, what went wrong, how did we fail, and we I did a whole bunch of work around my purpose, and basically came to the realisation that I wanted to make a difference to business owners, because at the time that it happened, it felt a very isolating experience. So there was something really good that came out of that experience, which was now I have a national business, soon to be international business, that is our whole purpose at Treaty is to help other business owners experience, bring awareness to some of the pitfalls of being a business owner. So I feel very qualified to talk to you today. That all happened 15 years ago. It was a long time ago, but it does feel like yesterday. And we made a lot of mistakes, and there were some things that were just out of our control, like COVID. So when COVID happened, we straight away started a national call centre, a 1-800 emergency call centre for businesses to deal with COVID and help bridge people from what they were experiencing to where's the support out there. And we've managed to break it down state by state. So yeah, that's what we've been doing for the last 4 months. And we've just gone from the crisis phase into rebound. So we've now got the call centre still operating, but we're helping people with rebound. And as a result, we're delivering webinars like this to talk about different aspects of what are some of the pitfalls of owning a business. And definitely taking care of yourself is very, very important. So we often use the analogy, if you're in an aeroplane and yourself and a small child and the face mask drop down, who do you put the face mask on first? You put on the small child or you? And it's actually really important to put it on yourself, because if you're putting it on the child and then you collapse with lack of oxygen, you know, you're not there to help the child. So you're not going to be much use to anybody. So it's really, really important to make sure that you are taking care of yourself on your business journey, regardless of success or failure. Okay, so let's dive in a little bit and talk about NLP and how that impacts. So I hope everyone can see the screen okay. So over here we've got your focus, your map of reality, your model of the world or perception. So as a human being, they all mean the same thing. So it just depends. Some people prefer to talk about, oh, that's your perception, you know, your point of view, or oh, that's your model of the world or your map of reality. The way we refer to it is your focus. So NLP stands for Neuro-Linguistic Programming, and it's brain science basically, but it's not, we use it in business in order to explain behaviour and to improve performance. The sporting fraternity uses NLP a lot, and it's basically how you manage yourself and around results that you are, and your attitudinal, what you bring to a situation. So as human beings, we have stuff happens to us, and that determines our state. Now that's what we're talking primarily about today: state, emotional, mental, and physical state. So Jack, I'm going to throw you in the deep end. Give me an example of emotional state. What's in top of emotional state, Jack?
Oh, now I'm trying to think of one.
Well, if you think about emotions.
Oh, happiness.
Very good. That's a state.
Yeah.
If you're happy, that's a state. Excellent. Okay, who else? Who'd like to jump in here and give me an emotional state? Either Gina, you can do it on, you can take yourself off mute, or anyone can take yourself off mute or type into the chat board. What's some emotional states as a business owner you might experience?
Fear.
That's great, Poe. Fear's a great one. Yes. What else? Anyone else?
Despair.
Yes, that's a state.
Okay.
Okay, so Gina, euphoria and depression. Depressed, yes, very good.
Excitement.
Yeah, excitement from Pam, that's good. All right, so who could, that's very, all of those are emotional states, and they all impact on your focus. So they all play a part. They're all valid. The good ones, the bad ones, the irrelevant ones. They're all in the mix. Okay, when we talk about your mental state, what are we talking about there? This one's a little harder. Anyone want to call out or type something in? Clarity, great. Chris, that's the word I'm looking for. Clarity and order. So your mental state, it's whether, you know, if you're fuzzy or in your approach, or if you've got clarity. How much clarity do you have in your mental state and your decision-making processes?
Yeah, disorganized, confused.
Confused, yep, that's very good. Yes, that's exactly. If you're disorganized, you know, that impacts on your state. So having a state of clarity versus a state of disorganization is really important. Okay, what about physical? What about over here? What type of things can you have in your physical state? Any takers?
Lack of energy.
Yes, that's very good. That can impact on your state, your lack of energy. Gina said jittery or calm. Yep, perfect. That's great. Anything else? What other physical? Nervous. Yep. So Chris said stress-free. Good answers, guys. What else can you have in your physical state, Mr. Yawny Bear over there?
Sleepiness.
Sleepiness is your physical state as well. So your state, so your focus, your map of reality, your model of the world, or your perception, all the same thing, determines your state. And your state is made up of three things: your emotional, mental, and physical state. So why do we care about that? So your state, we care about that because your mental, physical, and emotional state determines your behaviour, that determine your results. So everybody, drum roll, why do we care about results in business? Why do we care about results? Jack?
Because without results, you're not in business, really.
Yeah, well, you can have different types of results, right? So if you've got a poor state, a poor mental, poor physical, poor emotional state, what type of behaviour does that generate, Jack?
Oh, poor behaviour, and then that equals to poor results.
Okay, so if your state is mental state, great, physical state, great, emotional state, great, what type of behaviour do you produce?
It's going to be a very positive one.
Yeah, and what type of results does that lead to?
Positive results.
Not always. However, you're giving yourself a way better chance as if you're in a good state to exhibit the behaviours, and it's the behaviours on a long-term basis. So if you're like bad, shitty state all week long, and then one day you're really good, what will that produce in terms of results?
Well, that one day may be a really good one, but the rest of the week will be pretty low.
Exactly.
So up and down.
Exactly. So then that becomes, we talk about, and that's more advanced NLP, we're talking about towards and away from motivation. And we are, right at this moment, we're interested in, taking care of ourselves. So knowing that all of our results come from our state, what would it be logical place for us to start in terms of our business producing better results? What would be a logical place for us to start?
Manage your state.
Correct. That's great. So if you manage your state, it improves your behaviours that in turn help your results. And this is one business application. This is not all business. This is not saying walk around happy, punching the ceiling and everything will be fine. We're not saying that, because you have to put all your other foundations in place. And we're going to talk about two of those foundations in the next two slides. But it all starts and finishes with state. And in all of the leadership training that we do, and for executives in Westpac and Commonwealth Bank and Careflight and other organisations that we lead this training in, it all comes back to state. So it's a really important part of your operations as a business owner. So it is delving into what things can help your emotional state, what things can help your physical state, and what things can help your mental state, your clarity. So let's dive in there a little bit. Let's talk about what are some individual things. Now, this is where I want you to really tailor it to what you like. So I walk every afternoon on the waterfront on the Esplanade of Darwin. I go, that's my little sanity thing. I go for a bit of a power walk with my partner. And I like to have a glass of wine with some friends on the weekend on a Saturday afternoon. So this is like usually my sister on the deck or something like that. And I also like to go to yoga. So I would say the walking helps my physical state and emotional state. I would say the wine helps my emotional state, and I would say my yoga helps my mental state. Now, you can agree or disagree as to where to slot them, but the point is that there's a direct correlation between those activities that are not working and my state. So who'd like to have a go? What are some of the things that you do or that you'd like to do, and would it impact your mental, physical or emotional states? Let's go back to that previous slide. Who'd like to talk about what they're doing and which emotional state that's impacting? Who'd like to go first?
Oh, I'll go first.
Okay, Poe.
Yeah, I liked walking as well. I think walking is a very good form of relaxation exercise. Not only it helps to improve your emotional and mental states, but also physical.
Very good. Excellent. That's great. Who's next? Gina?
Okay, they all seem very related. I mean, physical, obviously you can put a little separate, but they all interrelate anyway. So bike riding, for example, if I was doing that with my family, it would help my emotional state and also physical.
Yes.
Probably mental too. But then maybe if I was going for a walk by myself, more to just like clear your head, maybe I'd slot that into the mental and then the physical.
Okay, great. All right. Who else would like to tap in their answers? So from Chris, Chris, increased meditation and yoga, awesome. That's just your number one, I think, for if everyone. I never thought I could. I'm not a very good meditator, but I have for the last few years tried to do yoga, and I've found it incredibly beneficial. But it's not for everybody, but it's pretty amazing all the different types of yoga you can do. Help a friend on a farm. Yes, so getting out there in nature, that's great, Pam. Physical, hard, rewarding, and contacting with other people. So if isolation is a thing for you, yeah, there's enormous benefit, mental and emotional benefit from engaging with other people. Volunteer work is another great, along the lines of what Pam mentioned. Chris, tend to do active exercise, walking, running, cycling, swimming. Great. So everybody on here is really, on the call today, really understanding the importance of your state management. And even though you might not use that language, it sounds like everybody is doing elements of that in their everyday life. Okay. So now we're going to go to a little bit more of an area that just from a clarity, from a mental perception side of things. So what we're going to talk about is daily and weekly planning. And it might have been Chris. Jack, can you have a look? Was it Chris that mentioned planning in the early part of the webinar? So daily and weekly planning. So why plan? So it's really important that your brain works in a linear flow. So I'm just going to get it. I'm going to stand up here and I'll sit and turn on the side, but I want you to put your finger up like this, right? And I want everyone to close their eyes, and I want you to point to the past, and I want you to point to the future, to the present, and to the future. So we'll do that again. Can everyone point to the past, point to the present, and point to the future? Okay, open your eyes. So 98% of the population are going to go from there to there, and that's what linear means. Use the past, the present, the future. 2% of the population will go from left to right. the past, the present, the future, or right to left, the past, the present, the future. So that, when we say allows your brain to work in a linear flow, that's what that means. So your brain works in a linear fashion. So it starts back there, ends up in the present, and goes to the future. Daily planning is working in a linear flow, and I'll explain how in a little while. Enables you to empty your head routinely, stops you using your brain as a memory or a recall tool. So your brain only has 5 chunks at a time. So if we go back to that last box where it said your focus, your map of reality, so a little bit further in the NLP, if you break down of it, is that your brain only gets a certain amount of information comes at you. It's actually about 4 billion bits per second, and it gets broken down into chunks because our brain's a very effective tool. And basically these chunks, it only has about 5 chunks at a time. So you can only ever hear, like you're right now, you're listening to my voice, maybe there's traffic noise where you are, or the whir of an air conditioner, or so we are consciously working with our 5 chunks, 5 to 9 chunks at a time. And so it basically stops your reticular activating system, which is located behind your brain, the frontal lobe in the brain. It stops overloading your RAS, your reticular activating system. I'm probably getting a bit too technical for where I want to be. Just basically daily planning avoids, there's a real science behind why daily planning works. And that's just a little bit of the science there. So we do this every day because it's a brain dump, it's a mental rehearsal, mental power, efficiency versus productivity. It puts things into physical existence, and schedules don't lie. So Jack, I'll get you to pass me the daily planning. So if anyone would like this daily planning template, so you won't be able to see it online, but basically I want everybody, if you can, get a sheet of paper, and down one side of the paper, I want you to put what time you wake up in the morning. So what time do you wake up in the morning? So if it's 5 o'clock in the morning, put 5 o'clock. If it's 6 o'clock, you put 6 o'clock. And then go in half-hour intervals. So 5:36, 6:07, all the way down the page until you get to what time you go to bed at night. Now, the reason why you're doing that is that we are working in a linear flow. So 6 in the morning is the start of the day, the middle of the day, and the end of the day. We are falling into that linear line and organising our day. So there are some rules that you have to follow. So you have to do your planning the day before. So you can do it the evening before you go to sleep, or you can do it, I like to do mine at 5 in the afternoon before I go before I leave the office, because it guarantees that it gets done. If I go home and I've kids and all sorts of activities might be happening, and it might not always get to it. So I always train my managers to do it. Anyone that's in this type of exploration about planning and productivity, we do it the day before at 5 o'clock. I always encourage people to do it at the same time every day. And basically you write every activity. So you have a look at you do it with your calendar open, if you work in an Outlook calendar, or your diary, or your PDA, and you have a look at what you've got on for the next day, and you schedule in appointments and meetings and things to do. So we can get a lot more detail than what I'm describing now, but it's just to get everybody started in how to do a daily plan. So basically, get a piece of paper, put your times down the side in half-hour slots, add in your meal times, breakfast, lunch and dinner, when you wake up, when you go to bed, and then all your other appointments in there. So the couple of things that the reason why we would stick to these rules with daily planning, and why it works in for all these reasons, it's a brain dump, it's a mental rehearsal, mental power, efficiency versus productivity, physical existence and scheduling. The reason why we're doing all of that is that it's like an organisational, you know, those old files, what did they used to call them, where you used to slot the cards in, a filofax.
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember. Yeah, they've kind of gone out of fashion now, but it's kind of, you're putting things in order and then your brain will automatically, it's locked and loaded. We don't recommend that you look at the next day. We don't recommend that you follow it through it. You know, you follow and say, oh, look, I'm supposed to be doing this now. It's a brain dump. It's meant to free up your reticular activating system to give you more mental power, mental clarity. So I've had different clients over the years, like accountants, for example, who work with a lot of detail and they get crammed, their reticular activating systems get really, really clogged up and jammed up. And with too much detailed information, engineers are also suffer from that issue. And basically when you do this exercise, it brings a sense of clarity to your day. If you're by pure function of our brains as human beings, just by taking out all of that excess information, it's, you know, it's like writing a shopping list instead of trying to go to the grocery shop and remember was milk, bread, you know how always one thing gets missed off the shopping list, or in my case 3. It's basically an exercise that stops you missing stuff off your shopping list when you go to the shops. It just has, and you don't even have to look at it the next day because it's just the exercise of dumping it out of your brain to give you a sense of clarity. Very, very good exercise in terms of if we're looking at physical, mental and emotional taking care of yourselves. It sounds like you've all got your walking and your yoga and your bike riding down pat. This exercise is something to really help you mentally, and I recommend that you take it on for, it takes us as human beings to form a habit for 21 days, 3 weeks. So I recommend that you take this on. If you would like a template, you can email me, claire@treaty.com.au, and that's TREETI, and I'll send you the template and print them out, put them into a little booklet, 21 days, Bob's your uncle. You'll have a lot of clarity and mental calmness from doing this exercise for 3 weeks in a row. Okay, all right, question time. Who's got some questions about daily planning? Why do it? Why not do it? Things that I might have said it too quickly, the do's and don'ts.
Yeah, I'm just quite happy that we're not doing it so that we have to actually follow it the next day. I like the idea of doing it to clear your mind of everything.
Yes. And it is also, you can put in their reactive time, because some people's jobs are more reactive than others. So if you, between 10 and 11 and 2 and 3, I recommend that you put in reactive time. And that I'm just suggesting those times you can put in between 8 and 9 and 3 and 4. But just try and put in 2 hours of, and just call it reactive time, which is for anything to jump in there that's unexpected. And we're not following it the next day. Remember, it's not meant to be, because if you're a client of mine, I would make you go onto Google Calendar or some kind of where you plan your week is scheduled. So this is nothing to do with scheduling. This is about, quite rightly, Gina, mental rehearsal, brain dump, mental power. Okay, great. Thanks, Gina. Any other questions or comments? Any other questions or comments? Jack, how about you? Any questions or comments from you that might forward the conversation?
No, but we did have a comment. This is different approach to a to-do list.
Exactly. Good point, Chris. It is, it's not a to-do list. So So if we go back, where we're talking about using your memory as a memory recall tool and allows your brain to work in a linear flow. So a to-do list is, I've got to do this over here, and I've got to buy milk, and don't forget the bread, and then I've got to pick the kids up from school, and then I've got to make that phone call and print that out and do this for my partner and do that for my kids, and my best friend needs this, and don't forget to do that for that client. And it's like all over so it's kind of like the opposite to a to-do list. So a to-do list is something that you go through and cross off, whereas this daily planning linear flow brain dump exercise is, it serves a different purpose to a to-do list. And actually, we don't recommend to-do lists, because to-do lists require multitasking. And I believe in the focus model, which is we focus on 5 to 7 things at a time, because that's the way our brain's designed. So it's a different philosophy to to-do lists. But great, thank you, Chris. The to-do list is a very common approach, but we recommend in replacing to-do lists with this is a different approach to produce a different result. The definition of insanity is if you do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. So yeah, this is a new way of doing things. So Poe, I keep things to-do list and check when it's done. Again, same thing as Chris. It just doesn't work in with the brain science that we know about working in a linear flow and not using your brain as a recall tool. And it's not in a time zone, and it's kind of all over the place. So yeah, same thing again, Poe, not the same, and try a different approach. Chris, balancing going between too many things and focus on a few key actions, completing well. Focus, yeah, exactly. You entering into that mental, so how to develop that mental state management around the mental capacity. This is a very effective tool to do that. Really good, guys. Okay, what else have we got, Jack?
We have no more questions, no more.
Okay.
We have about 10 minutes.
All right. I think we can go straight into 10 top tips. So I'm going to, I love this over here. Take a moment to appreciate how awesome you are. So we can be a little bit self-critical as business owners because we haven't done enough, quote unquote. We're not doing enough. So just take your time to really, you know, take into consideration how well you are doing. So get clear on how many hats. Now, I was talking about that in the beginning of the webinar. How many hats are you wearing? Are you wearing mum, dad, sister, friend, you know, brother, business owner, purveyor of fine services? Like, how many hats are you wearing? Like, identify all the different hats you're wearing, because when you identify how many hats you're wearing, you'll be able to, you know, prioritize those a little bit better. Identify your mentors and coaches. So this is a paid and an unpaid exercise. Like, I have mentors that I don't necessarily, our fair exchange is not financial. So just identify who in your life do you talk to as a mentor. There's lots of groups that you can become involved in and programs that you can become involved in. Just for example, there's a national program called Entrepreneur Facilitator, and that happens in every state around Australia. I've mentioned it before. I think Gina's a part of it from memory. Gina, you know all about EFS. So as an example, there are government initiatives and non-government initiatives. There's people-led initiatives. There's all different types of groups and organisations. And once again, it's designed for you to identify with what you like and don't like and what you identify with. But really great to seek out mentors and coaches, and I should amend that to say, and interest groups that you can learn from. Plan to succeed. So make sure you get your planning, your weekly planning, your daily planning. I can help you with that. There's a bit of a science to that. I know we just touched on it today. Use your daily and weekly planning. Like, just don't put it into existence, but actually use it. Like, actually commit to doing it for 21 days, because talking about it won't build the muscle. Actually doing it will build the muscle. Do one element of self-care per day. So if you're not doing any self-care, and when I say self-care, I mean something you enjoy doing, going for a walk, reading a book, you know, whatever it is that it is that lights you up, make sure that you're doing that. Having a massage, any particular thing that you really enjoy, make sure that you're doing something every day for yourself. Identify what your stresses are. Like, identify, yeah, well, I have those types of conversations and they're stressful for me. So once you identify them, we can put some strategies in around supporting you around that. Ask for feedback. These four you see in all of my top 10 in any business coaching every day of the week. Ask for feedback. Feedback is great. It will help you shape and sharpen your tools as a business owner. Do professional and personal development. Cannot stress that enough. And this taking care is a little bit along the lines of your personal development. It is really important. You will have your foot nailed to the ground, and you will get so far in the success of your business or your job. So doing development will help you go to the next level, and then all your results will come up as well. Stay positive. Really important to see the glass half full and the silver lining in all things. It keeps you open to opportunities that are coming along and coming your way, and we have opportunities every day of the week. Be committed to whatever you do. Doesn't matter what you do, but be committed. Stay committed and pay it forward is another thing that is also the energy that creates paying it forward, really, because if you're paying it forward, someone else is paying it forward behind you, in front of you, to the side of you, and you'll be the benefactor of that. Okay. All right, Jack.
So we did have a comment from Pam.
Yes.
About number 2.
Yes.
What should you look for when trying to find a good mentor?
That's great, Pam. The key things to look for is alignment. So people who've got a similar value set to yours. So if you're looking for a mentor, have a conversation with someone. You have a look, be in the conversation, be looking for alignment and values, value alignment. Also, have a look for someone that you could learn something from, that you're like, oh, that they somehow inspire you. So inspirational, there's a knowledge exchange there, like you know that you're going to learn something, and values alignment.
That's it. That's all the questions so far.
Okay, that's great. I think do I have another next Friday, Jack? I think I've got another session. So if anyone would like to join me next week, oh no, this Friday.
Can you check? I'll check it.
No, it's next week. I will check it too. Just hold on there, folks. We'll just see when the next one is. I mean, obviously.
July 10th.
July 10th. Okay, fantastic. Look forward to seeing you on July 10th. In the meantime, take care. Bye, everyone.